The voice of sharing, Durian ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Welcome to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. You're with Grace. At ASEAN Dailies, we deliver news from Southeast Asia. So let's start off with our breaking news. There was a US attack MSF clinic, but it was error. So the US aircraft attacked the Medicine Sans Frontiers, it's called MSF clinic in the Afghan city of Kunduz because of human error, and this is what US military admitted. So it was found out by the investigation that the crew of AC-130 gunship mistook the clinic for a nearby government building that had been seized by Taliban, and about 30 civilians were killed in the October 3rd attack amid a campaign to retake the Kunduz from Taliban forces. And of course, the group said the incident was a violation of the rules of war, and they also called it was very gross and negligence. Shortly after the incident, the medical charity disrupted initial U.S. justifications for the attack, which said U.S. forces had struck the hospital because they had come under fire in the sea. But of course, like I mentioned before, the U.S. military later admitted the strike was a mistake and launched an investigation. So it was just yesterday the U.S. commander in Afghanistan, Jen John Campbell, said the investigation had found that the attack on the hospital was the direct result of avoidable human error, compounded by the process and equipment failures as well. And also added by saying the crew of AC-130 plane believed the building was a government compound and NDS, or National Directorate of Security, which had been taken over by Taliban militants. So basically what we know is the aircraft identified the building based on the visual description provided by the Afghan forces, and it did not refer to the coordinates provided by the MSF that were included on the no-strike list. So tragically, this misidentification continued throughout the remainder of operation, even though there were some contradictory indicators. And this is a tragic mistake. U.S. forces would never intentionally strike a hospital or other protective facilities. Of course, it was done based on the human error, a mistake. However, it should have taken more carefully, and after that, the whole the area is of course distracted and also damaged by this attack. So there are also Twitter post and a Facebook post in the memory of the 14 MSF colleagues, which happened on the 3rd October, and the MSF General Director Christopher Stoke said, it appears that 30 people were killed and hundreds of thousands of people are being denied life-saving care in Kunduz simply because of this. MSF hospital was closest to a large building to an open field and roughly matched a description of an intended target. And there was also a report released earlier this month, and the factors that contribute to the mistake included about 4 factors. One is fatigue and high operational tempo endured by the troops, the loss of electronics communication systems on the aircraft, the nature of the planning and approvals process of operations in Kunduz, the absence of single system to check a target for attack against no-strike list. So, according to the U.S. military said, the troop involved in the attack had been suspended and also waiting for disciplinary action. So more news will come after this on focusing on the political side of Southeast Asia. So stay tuned.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Welcome back to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. You're with Grace at ASEAN Dailies. Now this segment will be focusing more on the political side of Southeast Asia.
So let's start with the first news
All the way from Vietnam. And this country has recognized the transgender people, allows the sex change on the legal documents.
And I see the pictures there, supporters chat with the transgender, and then they're waving the flag with the rainbow signs. Well, on Tuesday, it was just a couple of days ago, they passed changes to a civil code that acknowledges transgender people and gives them right to change gender in legal documents. And that also reflects the major advance in the communist government viewpoint on gender issue. So under this new law, which will take effect from January 1st, 2017, people who underwent sex change would have the right and the obligation to register for changes in the civil status, and also they have the personal rights associated with their new gender as well. One of the reasons is this is an encouraging signal for LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community in Vietnam. And who is the founder of the Vietnam Pride, Nguyen Thanh Tam. This is what he said. And he said one of the most popular public events displaying LGBT community solidarity. So this change will meet the expectations of people undergoing sex reassignment surgery, and it will also help creating a unified gender identification scheme. So these right groups have been fighting for years in close by Thailand for a change in registration so that transgender people can change their sex on travel documents as well. And of course the country Thailand has a prominent LGBT community, but the country remains still largely conservative. And of course, the law bans changes to gender categories on national identity papers and prevents gay couples from taking joint bank loans and medical insurance as well. So, when it comes to right and advantages for LGBT group, and still in Southeast Asia is having a lot of facing a lot of struggles and ups and downs, just because the law has not passed to legalize them and also giving them right to what they want to do. So, but one of the countries from ASEAN is Vietnam, where they legalized. It will be legalized officially in just another year, which will be in 2017. And the Philippines, let's talk about Philippines, which takes South China Sea claim to Hague Court. So, the nation asked global judges to recognize its right to exploit waters in South China Sea, which is a case that could bolster territorial claims by other countries against China in this resource-rich body of water. However, the country China, which claims economic and territorial right in almost the entire sea, and it also has boycotted the proceedings and rejects the court's authority in that case. But coming from experts, they said the ruling could influence other cases in the heated South China Sea dispute involving the surrounding countries such as Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, Brunei, and other countries. And of course, one of the Indonesia has signaled it may also go to the court to counter the increasingly assertive China that has heightened tension in the region. Of course, this issue was also highlighted in the ASEAN summit which just finished last week. And of course, there is still quite strong tension between China and other nations. However, still China has not changed its firm decision of conquering the whole China Sea. And of course, lawyers appeared at the Permanent Court of the Arbitration in The Hague, asking it to acknowledge the Philippines' right to areas within 200 nautical miles of the coastline under the terms of a UN convention. And Manila, the capital of Philippines, is contesting Beijing's claim dating back to just after World War II to an area known as Nine-Dash Line, which stretches south and also east of mainland China and covers hundreds of disputed islands and reefs. So the court will discuss the meat of the case against China now at this case. But at the same time, Manila is pretty confident that they will get a favorable decision on some of the issues. However, it will be a bit unrealistic to expect that they will get a favorable decision on all the issues for sure. And Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia will also observe these pleadings, which will run until November 30th, and they will run privately. And the final ruling is it will be in the mid-2016. So, the United States, traditionally the region's dominant security player, the nation also objects to China's moves, sending military aircraft to survey China's development activities as well. So this Philippines case is based on the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which is called UNCLOS, a pact that does not cover the matters of sovereignty, but outlines a system of territory and economic zones that can be claimed from features such as island, rocks, and reefs. So the court seems quite a long progress. However, hope that we can hear some positive news from this issue regarding South China Sea. And traveling to Myanmar, Myanmar's army chief says no limits in talks with Aung San Suu Kyi. He is a very powerful Myanmar commander-in-chief. He has mentioned that he will meet Aung San Suu Kyi in December for no-limit discussion on the transfer of power following her sweeping win in the election this month. And according to him, he also said, "I am prepared to talk and answer and discuss. No limits. She can have any topics and he will answer." And in the wake of Aung San Suu Kyi's victory, the 70-year-old Nobel Peace Prize winner, she also asked him that to discuss the National Reconciliation Government she intends to form key talks that she hopes that it will further reduce a half-century military grip on power, and also asked during the interview that if he can work with Aung San Suu Kyi, a woman in his procedures placed under house arrest for much of the past 2 decades after she demanded democratic reforms. And he replied, "Of course, why not?" And from there, her party, Democracy Party, NLD, it won the 77% of all electable seats in both houses of parliament. Also gave her, of course, a mandated push to through the legislation, form a government and handpick a new president next year. And this party won a 1990 election before the military junta annulled the result and imprisoned its members and supporters during those era. And 2 decades later, in 2011, the military commander turned president Thein Sein pushed through the political and economic reforms that led to this month's election. So despite these all changes, his party links to army left the ruling Union Solidarity and Development Party with only 10% of electable seats. So according to the chief, he also says that he thinks the current government cannot fulfill the people's desires, and now the people have elected the person who they think they can fulfill their needs. The next thing is for the elected person to fulfill their desires. And of course, we would love to have a good result for the country. They can work together, but it's just that so many things to cooperate. And Myanmar armed forces or Tatmadaw will retain the significant power in Myanmar still. And under the army drafted constitution, the military reserves a quarter of seats in the parliament and the three most powerful government ministries home. And Aung San Suu Kyi, the president, is also barred from the presidency due to the constitutional clause banning those with foreign children, but she has repeatedly vowed to be above the president. And of course, the Middle East countries are the worst example. That it's according to him again, it's saying that they only have experienced democracy for a short time. Well, Myanmar, I believe, in the context of democracy and also in South China Sea, they have all the right to vote for who they want to lead the country. And now has become Aung San Suu Kyi. Well, it also comes with a gender issue. She's a female. But she has been in this government for a long time, and I'm pretty sure that she knows inside and out. But here the negotiation and the collaboration, eventually cooperation between her and the many other parties is necessary. So the last news before we end the news segment on the political part is about Aquino. Well, President Aquino III has returned from his visit to Malaysia, who visited for the ASEAN Summit. So in his arrival speech, he also said ASEAN leaders have launched the ASEAN Vision 2025 and the ASEAN Community. He said this will form the ASEAN direction in the coming years in terms of economic and security issues, which is very necessity because when it comes to economy, the whole global economy is sort of falling at this stage, and the security issues regarding the whole political security as well as the terrorism that goes further onto the extremism as well. And he took a pride in saying that the Philippines has gone far since it joined the ASEAN, and the most ASEAN countries have been prompt in sending aid, especially in times of calamities, without the Philippines even asking for it. So the ASEAN Summit will be held in the Philippines in 2017, but next year will be in Laos. So we hope to see more the results and implementation, of course, execution of all these plans soon as possible. Yes, so that's it for our ASEAN Dailies on the political side, but stay tuned for the economic side of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Welcome back to Drian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. You're with Grace at ASEAN Dailies, with deliver news from Southeast Asia. So now this time, let's focus on the economic side of ASEAN. Well, we will need to travel to India. Well, this country is seeking to improve the business environment for foreign investors. Well, since Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi took office 18 months ago, he has been on the mission to improve the country's economy and also make the economic climate more business friendly. So he spoke how media is speaking to improve the business environment for the foreign investors, and how it is hoping to further collaborate with Singapore businesses in new areas. So he has been on the mission, like I mentioned, and also while Singapore occupies the top spot in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index, India is languishing at 130th place. So Mr. Modi has consistently said he wants to bring India to the top 50 of that list by implementing more business-friendly policies. According to him, he said, one is the ease of doing business, and I think India is improving on that, and already we have seen the rankings improve. And of course, there is a long way to go, but improving. For example, it used to take 130 days to set up the company. If you see the latest Ease of Doing Business report.
So he has this ambitiously laid out a plan to build 100 smart cities in India, and Singapore companies have gotten the first role in helping develop the new capital of Andhra Pradesh, Amravati. So the Make India initiative was launched last year, and officers and another opportunity for Singapore companies. So it has been on the key initiatives of the government to attract the multinational to set up the manufacturing base in India. And compared to Singapore and India, of course, there are huge differences when it comes to economic growth. And when you talk about India, as much as he's been ambitiously forcing and also urging to improve the economic, but he also need to say that it will need to adapt to Act East policy, whereby India has to make engaging contract or communication with East Asian neighbors a foreign policy priority. And in addition to that, of course, geopolitical importance is we cannot ignore this. This carries economic importance for both, especially for both Singapore and India. So this is a role that is going to expand more and more because the financial intermediation is unique to Singapore. The shipping intermediation is unique to the country again, and the India-Singapore relationship per se is also unique to Singapore. So he has borrowing a lot of examples from the nation Singapore, and also it is not undeniable that Singapore can push India forward in terms of economic growth as well. And the next news is about the Microsoft enters as sort of the world, the finance. So the company has stepped into the minefield for business in the post-military era in Myanmar by striking a deal with a conglomerate whose founder has long battled claims of this involvement in this business deal. And when it comes to IT in Myanmar, of course, it falls a little back in to see the whole growth there. But hopefully, Myanmar also can push forward when it comes to IT sector as well. And last but not least, the news about Indonesia. Well, AECA will be concluded very soon by the end of this year, and Indonesia and other ASEAN member countries have made the maximal preparations to enter the common free trade era when implementation of this AEC will begin very, very soon. So about 94% is the maximum preparations, and the Indonesia is now ready to face AEC, which will be implemented next to January very soon. So they have calculated all these areas that ASEAN members need to work on, and they also have completed 94.1 of the required preparation. Joko Widodo, he said that some of the ASEAN members had completed 92%, 93%, 94% of preparations even. But this means, like it or not, everything must be prepared. They cannot expect to get something easily, and that should be all seized. And the Indonesian government, the president emphasized on the improving efficiency and the competitiveness, and the stress on the revising regulations that create hurdles. So, according to the economic observer Thomas Ola Lagode of the Kupang-based Widaya Ahmadiyya Catholic University, said only a small number of industries at home are ready to compete in the free trade era, and most of them are not ready, according to him. So he made the remarks while commenting on the readiness of small and medium-scale business and the national industry in the face of AEC. So we really hope that, if especially Indonesia with a huge populations there, will be able to face the readiness before the AEC really kicks off its implementation. Some people consider that it is not really practical and they still feel unreal when it comes to AEC. But when the Indonesia really needs to work hard to seize the existing opportunities. And of course, this era of competition in the world, they also need to learn to survive, not only Indonesia, but all the ASEAN nations. So that's it for our economic news on the Southeast Asia, but stay tuned. We still do have our news and discussion on art and culture part of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're with Grace at ASEAN Dailies, where we deliver news from Southeast Asia. So the last segment of a news commentary will be on Socio-cultural, where we can focus in all the way in Laos. We talk about fashion. We talk about the star-studded evening of great fashion, good food, and amazing coast. When you look at the upcoming Legacies of War fundraiser in New York on December 5th, and it's called Laos in New York, Fashion for Philanthropy. So this impressive lineup for movers and shakers, they are stepping up to give back to the community and addressing the ongoing hazard of unexploded bombs in Laos. Since its beginning in 2003, this Legacies of War has sought to address this terrible crisis, and today their mission is to raise awareness about the history of Vietnam War-era bombing in Laos and also advocate for the clearance of unexploded bombs to provide the space for healing the wounds of war and also to create a greater hope for the future of peace. So it's got very, very good motive, and of course the organization uses art, cultural education, community organizing and dialogue to bring people together and create healing and a transformation out of this wreckage of war. And one of the highlights of night is the work of Monica from Sava, CEO and co-founder of the Moda Box. And it's a fashion company that specialized in delivering a personalized, convenient shopping experience for busy women. And this place also provides the one-on-one personal stylist and deliver beautiful boxes packed with fully customized outfits to their clients. And she was the refugee from the Laos and also worked her way through retail, eventually quitting the Fifth Avenue job to start her own business that now serves the New York elite and women everywhere. And in New York, executive chef Sola Fat Squatter KO, a restaurant, received incredible raves in the Tribeca for his take on the Lao cuisine. He will be providing the delicious selection of his appetizers for guests as well, and that is also with the support from Insugo. So all the best for this fashion show in December. Let's move on to the last news of today's ASEAN Dailies. Is Jolie Pitt accepts the honorary post at the Cambodian Film Festival. So the Hollywood star is currently in Cambodia filming her latest movie. She will serve as president of the festival honorary committee. And the Cambodia is, of course, is a rich history, long culture, and talented people that has a huge amount of offer to the region and also to the world. And according to Jolie, she said she's very proud to support the Cambodia International Film Festival and Cambodia as a home for vibrant and innovative filmmaking place. So its film industry was devastated by the murderous reign of the Khmer rule in the 1970s, and the regime executed artists, writers, filmmakers as part of its vision to eliminate all these educated elites and transform the country into the agrarian utopia. The more than 1.7 billion people died under this regime. And now Jolie Pitt is currently filming the adaptation of this biography. And First They Killed My Father. It's based on the 2000 memoir by Cambodian author and a human rights activist Leung Ong. So that's it for our news today. Look for us on our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to download our app, Adrian ASEAN app, to listen to more podcasts. And lastly, do visit our website, DurianASEAN.com.